we don't get taught financial education in schools, and people then go about their merry life and they don't realise the impact of interest payments on credit cards, or actually how you can earn it. And I know this,
and your future, it's so important to have something to look forward to at the end for you to have a comfortable life.
Testing. Right, hello everybody. We've got our guest today, Helen Moss from Newman Business. She's actually another one of our fantastic employees of a business, so rather than being a business owner. But she's got some really interesting journeys that she's kind of mapping out and wants to do, and it's a really, really good conversation and a nice one for those of you that are a little bit stuck with your finances, property journey, all that kind of stuff. So don't forget to watch the video, watch all the way through to the end. I think you'll really enjoy this one, especially if you kind of sit in that kind of middle management employment kind of place in your business and you really, really want to start doing some stuff with your life in terms of your finances. So hopefully it's a really good video. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, share the video, all that kind of stuff. And don't forget you can follow us for exclusive content on Instagram and also on Facebook as well. So with that said, let's get on into the video. Okay, so we've got our guest today, Helen Moss from Newman Business, and she's going to be talking to us a little bit about her kind of journey and maybe some of her goals and things like that, and some of the hurdles that are going to get in her way on that journey. So similar sort of format to the others. So we're going to learn a little bit about Helen first of all. So if you could tell us in a kind of, I suppose, about your business or the business that you work in a kind of elongated 60 seconds networking style pitch. Maybe you can have a couple of minutes.
So we're family run. They've been established for 44 years. We're in Worthing. We are based in Crowborough. We cover Sussex, Surrey, Kent and London. We specialise in print and document management, IT support, telecoms, and mobile as well, business mobiles, and we also do office stationery, office furniture. We do visual displays as well because we're a distributor for Sharp for the photocopiers, and they specialise in visual displays, OVM, which is visitor management. When you go into the doctors and you check yourself in, we do quite a few of those as well. There's quite a lot more to our business than what you probably see on my page on LinkedIn, which is obviously the print side, which is the small A4 printers up to the large plotters for construction, so all different sizes.
And what do you do what's your kind of role in the business?
So I am an account manager, so I do have my customers that I look after, and I do a lot of the business development. So I'm a business development manager. I've been trying to grow Brighton area. It's been quite hard to get into because obviously there's a lot of networking that happens in Brighton and Hove. But I think I've made quite a lot of connections now. I've been doing it for years in Brighton, so I'm quite confident when I walk into a room now, and I know a lot of the people, and I'm still getting to know obviously a lot of them. Been growing it a little bit in Brighton, and then I do a lot of business development in Sussex, Surrey, and Kent as well, and a bit of London.
And you've got a fair amount of experience of this kind of industry, because obviously when we first met you were working at a different firm, and you've been there quite a long time, haven't you?
So actually I wanted to be a legal secretary.
Okay.
So I did quite a lot of work through college, touch typing, all the PA work, and I went to work for a law firm. And I really didn't like it. I started in the wills department. No offence against wills, because we all need one.
It's funny how people fixate on a journey. Then when they do it, they don't want it.
No, I just, I got put into the cupboard in the basement to file some wills, and they said if you're not back in an hour, we'll come and find you, because if the door closes, you can't get out from the inside.
Right.
So I
quality introduction.
I went for a few different job interviews, a plumber's, a construction company, and an office supplies company. And the office supplies one, there was 3 directors, and one of them I'm still really good friends with. And they sat there and said, sorry, but we were looking for someone with experience. Now, when I was sort of 17, I was so shy. And I said, how am I supposed to get experience if nobody employs me.
Mm.
And then I thought, oh, what have I said? That was really rude. Speaking out. So I left, and within 2 hours they'd called me and said, when can you start? We'll give you a chance. Okay. So I was there for 8 years, got made redundant. The whole firm did. A few changes in the business. Then I went and worked at a hotel on the seafront for 3 years, just as a reception, ended up head reception and doing quite a lot. I learned a lot there. I had a great team. Did my first aid, fire marshal, MVQs in customer service there. Yeah. Learned how to deal with a lot of situations and many different people from all over the world. It was really good. I really enjoyed it, meeting so many different people. But it was very unsociable hours, and I wanted my weekends back. Yeah. I was working till 11 o'clock at night, again at 7 o'clock in the morning, filling in all the gaps, because a lot of people, are always, I can't do my shift, can you cover me? It was, So, I went and started working at another office supplies company. So, I've been in it for over 20 years now. Yeah. Long time.
It's a long time, isn't it? Yeah. But a wealth of knowledge over that time, though, that you've gained of your specific industry. And doing a business development management type role is quite taxing at times, because they tend to be fairly sort of commission driven and kind of, targets, KPIs, all that kind of stuff. So it's quite an intense, and it's not for everybody, that sort of way of working, is it?
I think I'm different. I meet a lot of obviously business development people, and like you said, it is a lot commission driven, and a lot of the younger generation are very money driven. Yeah, I'm a people pleaser, so I like to see that someone's got a service that they're going to be happy with, and a product that's going to last them, that just works and is really reliable. That makes me happy. Yeah. Obviously, money helps too, but I think just seeing people happy and knowing that it's just going to make their life easier, even if it is, a printer, I'd like to help in other ways with their lives, but, just little steps like that, it really does help.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, endorphin that you get from, assisting people and seeing that they're happy in the way that they're working, or just going around their daily lives is really important. Yeah. Especially in an industry where it might be their KPIs are important, and as you say, young people, they're quite well driven, but they also, the other side of young people is they want everything now as well. They're not prepared to kind of put in the time.
Yeah, and it does take time. Business development takes time. People have to trust you. They have to learn who you are. They like to hear referrals from other businesses that you work with. It does take time. Yeah. I've been contacted through LinkedIn, for example, for people that I met a year and a half ago that I didn't think would ever possibly need a printer, but they've said, now we're growing, now's the right time that we need to look at something. Yeah. So, you never know who you're going to meet and how many years down the line they're going to need you, or vice versa.
Yeah, definitely. I think, as you know, a networking colleague of ours always refers to farming. Yeah. And, and I quite like that phrase, because I think that's really important in those business development style relationships with people. You can't just walk into a room and expect them to buy a printer or a bit of software off of you. It is about nurturing that relationship over a long period of time. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, with networking, I do the calling as well. And I don't know what the ratio is, but I think you have to ring 100 people to get one that will say, actually, our contract's coming to end. Yeah, let's talk. Exactly. And they're the ones that make you but it's more fact finding and just finding out when contracts are ending, and just I think one of our networking connections said on last week, that you have to contact someone on the marketing strategy. You have to, at least they have to hear you.
7 points. Yeah. 7 touch points is quite common. There's got a few books about those things for anybody that wants to listen or read to a book about touch points of marketing and getting customers and stuff like that. So,
yeah, and I think that's 100%, that is the way.
So tell us, I love to ask this question for all of the guests, as you may have seen if you watch any. Tell me about young Helen, that kind of 10-year-old to maybe when you were kind of working 18 to 20, that sort of, what were you like as a young lady?
I suppose I was quite quiet, kept my head down. I wanted to be a travel agent, actually.
Travel agent, solicitor, business development.
Yeah, it's changed slightly.
Yeah.
But no, when I was, what you say from 10, I'm probably from 10 to 13, 14.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a travel agent because I just, I went on holiday a few times with my parents and my siblings, but it's the bit of you going into the travel agents, which no one really does much anymore. And you take a brochure back and have a look, and I'd take a couple off the shelf and take home, and I'm like, oh, well, I want to travel, which is obviously what I wanted to do. But so I wanted to be a travel agent. That was at the early years. Yeah. It's a bit of a tomboy.
Yeah.
Had a BMX.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Not as good as you, obviously, but did a couple of little jumps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started a paper round at 12, 13 and did that for a couple of years. Then I started working at a local nursing home just to get a bit of pocket money. When I was 15, I was a weekend cleaner because I was too young to actually be a HCA.
Yeah.
And then when I started college, because obviously I left school at 15 because of my birthday. So I was quite young when I left school. And I went to college to obviously do the PA work.
Yeah.
And I'd finished college at 5 to run through Hampden Park because obviously I live in Eastbourne.
Yeah.
And the nursing home was the other side, and I'd have to start work at 5, so I'd literally turn up.
Yeah.
And I'd be there supper cook. Yeah. So I was there supper cook 2 nights a week, and then I worked as a cleaner at the weekend. And then when I was old enough, when I was 16, I could be a HCA. So then I did that for a couple of years.
Yeah.
And then obviously I had to start paying rent.
Yeah.
My parents, as soon as you get a job.
Parents.
That's it. But then I saved quite a lot. I was quite a good. I've always been quite good with my funds, so I got a mortgage at 21, got my first little flat. So property is what I want going forward. I want to buy another little flat.
Right, I suppose that leads us like a nice little segue onto your goals and things. Obviously, you've done quite a lot of different various jobs and things like that, and careers, and whether they be short or longer. I suppose that kind of, although you're employed by Newman Business, and we've had quite a few employees on here or senior management team, it doesn't necessarily mean that you don't have your own goals and things in life. So that's kind of what we can move on to. But that kind of ability to like do lots of different jobs and turn your hand to different things and the rest of it is like an entrepreneurial trait of a lot of people, because they get fidgety and they kind of want to gather all this information up to this one thing so that they're kind of a rounded person, if you like, when they kind of make their decisions and moves. So I guess that leads us nicely onto your goals and things and what kind of hurdles they're going to get. So we asked the guests to think about what kind of immediate, like year one goals they might have, and then more longer term ones. You mentioned property there and so on. So I don't know if that's the topic you want to talk about. Obviously, I know a lot about that.
Yes, you do.
What's the immediate and then more longer term goals, I suppose?
I always set myself goals every year.
Yeah.
I have goals that I set. So whether it be travelling, which it usually is. Yeah. So like for example, this year was skydiving.
Yeah.
So I did that. And last year, it does sound silly, but these are little goals every year. I'd never been on a camel or a jet ski, so last year I conquered those. And this year we just booked Scotland to go to Scotland just before Christmas. I've never been to Scotland, nice, so it's just little things that I've always. No one's heard of it, so it's called Peebles.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of it.
I've not heard of that.
Just under Edinburgh, so not too far, about an hour's drive. So really looking forward to that.
Yeah, you'll like that. Edinburgh's worth a visit if you can get out there.
Yeah, it's an hour down the road, so we probably will. We won't be too far away.
You train up there probably quite quick.
Well, I don't know. We're going to drive because we've got the dogs with us, so that'll be fun. So there's always goals. Even horse riding on the beach was one of them this year, which I've just done as well.
Yeah.
In Santorini, which is better than Canvas Hands.
Yeah, indeed. Or the local donkey show.
Yeah. So there's always personal little goals that I like to do every year. And I think mortgage or a flat maybe maybe next year.
Yeah.
Have a look. I am meeting with one of our networking connections about an IFA, actually, just to sort out, what I'd need going forward.
Yeah.
And I've only got work pensions, so obviously I'm looking to, everyone said you need a personal one as well, because you're not going to get much. When you retire, you need more. Okay. And if I want to keep travelling when I do retire as well.
So I guess the sort of theme of it is we're looking at kind of property purchase of some nature, maybe in the future, and then preparing for your future.
Yeah.
For when you get there. So.
Yeah, definitely. I wish I'd started sooner.
Yeah. Everyone says that.
Yeah.
You can never start soon enough.
No.
So what the current housing situation, you got a house or a flat that you own, or are you renting at the moment?
No, don't own any at the moment.
Renting. So
So
what happened? I'm interested. What happened to the flat that you had when you were 21? You sold that, did you?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess the goal right now is to get onto the property market, onto the ladder, if you like, and then is it to buy to let property or some vehicle of any nature at all for your retirement? It's kind of...
Yeah, I suppose it would be for retirement, or I'm not sure yet. I'm not sure. I'm still thinking about that, because there's a few options.
Yeah. So what's the goal then? So the immediate goal in the next year is to try and get back onto the property ladder.
Yeah. Yeah.
Where are we at that stage? You're saving presumably at the moment.
Yeah.
How far? I mean, I know. For those of people that don't live in the southeast, I'd say a 2 up, 2 down type property, 2-bed house bungalow in Eastbourne, you're probably knocking on the kind of £200,000.
Yeah, I'd probably start off small with a flat first, because I've never done this on my own before. Yeah. So I think something small first.
Yeah. Is it just you buying it, or are you buying with the old partner?
Yeah, Chris.
Chris.
No, it is.
I can remember.
No, it would just be me.
Yeah. Okay, fine. So I think, you can get like a 1-bed flat or something like that in Eastbourne for probably in the region of about £150,000, £160,000.
Yeah.
So I know at the moment, obviously, you can get kind of 5% or 10% deposits, those sort of things. I don't know where you're at on that journey of getting that.
I know, obviously, the more deposit,
the lower the interest rate.
Yeah.
And it's easier. I think it's easier to put, when you're buying a property for you to live in, is put as much equity as you can in to keep that loan to value down, because if there are fluctuations in the market and you come to remortgage, they don't then say, well, you can't actually have the same loan you had before because your property's gone down. So you put some buffer in. So if you put 20% in, for instance, and then there's a 5% dip in the market, then you actually still got 15% equity in there. So therefore you're likely to be able to get a mortgage. You're not going to have to top it up. I'll give a calculation of, like, if your property is worth 100,000 and then you've got a £75,000 mortgage on it and 25,000 equity, because you put that as a deposit, if it then goes down to £90,000, so it goes down by like 10% or whatever that is, 11 or something, then when you come to go and get your 25% remortgage again, it's not 75 grand, is it? It's going to be like 67 and a half or something. So you're going to have to clear off some of your mortgage in order to maintain that 25% buffer.
Right, okay.
At that point, you can say, well, I can't afford it because the economy's changed. I'll just have a 15% buffer because there's a different mortgage product. So it gives you more leeway in the remortgage process. That might be, generally they fix for 2 or 5 years. So at the moment, it's actually cheaper to fix for 5 years, and that is probably because the banks believe in 5 years' time it will still be less, so it's easier for them. Really? So if they go, right, we'll loan it to you at a fixed rate, and in 5 years should be a lot lower than that, so they're going to make more money out of you. Whereas if you sign up for 2 years, they're like, well, in 2 years' time we won't have made as much money out of you, so we'll charge you a little bit more. So actually, right now, 2-year rates are slightly higher than 5-year rates.
Okay.
Because the general consensus is the interest rates will come down, whether they come down to like previous lows or not, but they will come down at some point. So
it's fluctuated quite a lot, hasn't it?
Yeah, but I would say, regardless of all of that, you could be looking at £10, £20 a month savings, all that kind of stuff. Most people, it's easier to budget when they know they're fixed in for 5 years.
Yeah, definitely.
And you might find it fixed in at say 5%, and then when we get round in 5 years' time, the going rate's 3.5%. Well, that's just a nice drop for you, isn't it? But you also might find property prices might not have recovered yet or continue to grow. I mean, generalisation over a 10-year period, they do grow property prices because there's only so much land in the UK.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, and it's getting less and less.
Yeah. So I just wanted to interrupt quickly here. I hope you're really enjoying the podcast guest today, but did you know that you can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, various other sites like that, and you can also listen to us on all major streaming services as well. You may already be listening through one of those things, but look at the other avenues that you can do us. You can see us in physical form if you're listening in audio, or if you want to just listen as you're driving along in the car, you can go to things like Spotify or Apple Podcast and listen to us there. So please don't forget to check those out. Please always like and subscribe to all the channels, share them about and the rest of it, and that will help grow the audience. And then eventually we'll have a massive amount of people that are always really going to get involved, and it's a nice big entrepreneurial hub. So if you want to contribute to that, head on over to those other channels, press the like button, and don't forget to subscribe. Right, we'll get back to our guest now. So I think with the interest rates, obviously you need to be careful as to which one you sign up for, but a lot of people in your position will probably go for the more stability. Obviously you need to figure that out yourself. I don't necessarily give you financial advice.
We're not allowed to do that. There are some very good mortgage advisors that I know. Last time I did it at the bank, which I don't think I'll probably do again. I don't know if they're the best people. What would you say?
Well, I would say,
mortgage advisor or the bank?
If I'm dead honest, not to knock the mortgage advisors, they are all commission based and on an incentive to sell you a product, basically, because they are representing them. And anybody in that industry, it's always going to be inherently hard for them not to try and push the best product onto you. That's going to be kind of a combination. They're not as bad as they used to be back in a financial crash, but they will push the product on you that kind of probably gives them a good level of reward commission, but also ticks the boxes. So what a good financial advisor or mortgage advisor should do is sit down and just map out your risk profile. So you might say, look, it's really tight for me. Like I've got this money saved up. My sister, for instance, in a similar boat. So she's saved up a bunch of money. She's going to buy a property on her own, but she's literally like, I cannot afford the mortgage to be more than this or whatever. The figures are, she's got £100 a month, buffer sway, if you like, from this is a nice kind of middle zone food shop and the rest of it. Take all of that into account and some socialising money. I've got £100 to play with that is completely disposable. So if my mortgage went up by £100, that would mean I'd either have to cut back on something or whatever. So that they should be able to sit with you and really kind of fine tune where you're at, and then either say you need to save up more money in order to get to this position because you need to put a bigger deposit down, or you could do that. And obviously your journey as well, you'll know if you're set for promotion or if the commission rates are going to change and the rest of it. So you need to factor all of that in when you're looking at it at an early stage. The benefit of having the stability is that you know where you're at. The benefit of saving money, so less stability because you might have a shorter term, is that it's not going to cost you so much. So I know I said at the moment, actually 2 years are more than a 5-year fixed rate. But if you think about it, if in 2 years' time you can now switch products and it's a lot less, in 2 years' time you're going to benefit from that saving, as opposed to now, if you sign for 5 years, you're not going to benefit from that saving for 5 years.
But I do like to, like you said, the 5 years. I do like to know what I'm paying out each month, and I like to budget and know where I'm at, how much I've got.
Exactly.
So, but like you said, after 2 years, it could drop dramatically, but it could stay the same or.
It could also go up.
Yeah,
exactly. No one has a crystal ball.
No.
And I think that people analyse it too much. And I think when you're in your sort of position, it's better that you know where you stand with things.
Yeah.
The likelihood of your wage going up and costs and things like that going up as well are probably larger than they are it going down. So that will allow you to then have more of a buffer zone in 5 years' time, because your mortgage payments will still be the same, but you should have earned more money in theory, assuming you get promotions or bigger commission checks, or I don't know.
And the cost of living.
Yeah. For example, if say, I don't know, I'm making this up because I don't know what the structure is, but if you say you sell a printer and it costs £3,000 and you get 10% of that as a commission, in 5 years' time, that same printer is not going to be £3,000. It would have gone up. It'd probably be £4,000. So now you'll get £400 commission off of that, because your commission structure should stay the same, assuming that you don't get kind of knocked back or anything. I know, I know how these things go. But all being equal, it should stay the same. So now you're £100 better off.
Yeah.
But obviously your food shops and stuff have gone up, so you've kept track of it. But your mortgage has always stayed the same during that period of time. So actually, in theory, as long as everything stays equal, you should be net slightly better off, because your mortgage is fixed.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of people don't realise, that actually inflation is, for anybody with lending of any nature, mortgages normally, unless your lending is tied to the base bank rate and inflation, but let's say it's fixed, like a mortgage would be, it's actually beneficial when there is some inflation, because what it does is it erodes your debt.
Okay.
Does that make sense? Or have I just confused you?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. So with inflation eroding your debt, so let's say I lend you £100 today, and I say I want it back in 10 years' time. £100 today buys us a nice meal or something like that, or whatever. You go out with your other half, have a starter, a bottle of wine, whatever, or you go out with your kids, maybe it's £100 for a decent meal out in a posh restaurant. 10 years ago, that was what, £50 maybe?
Yeah.
So in 10 years' time, my £100 I lent to you interest-free for 10 years is not going to buy me the same meal out.
No.
So inflation has eroded my £100 that I lent you.
Okay, yeah.
So if I give you £100 today and then I say you need to pay it back to me in 10 years' time, when you come to pay it back to me, it'll feel like it's a small
ton of interest.
Well, let's say, it's fixed though, isn't it? The interest is fixed.
Yeah.
So the amount that I've lent you is fixed, essentially. I know the mortgage has got interest to it, but the actual underlying debt, the 75k or £100 in my example, is still fixed. So the £100 itself has depreciated because it's lost value against the real world.
Yeah.
So I'll give you a bigger example. I bought a flat for £100,000. It's on, I did like an actual whole series actually, from like the first property we bought all the way to getting to £4 million worth of property. So over a short, kind of condensed period, but it gives people an insight of it.
Okay.
The very first property, if anybody wants to go and watch that, was I paid about £100,000 for it, and I put 25% deposit down because it was just after the financial crash and you had to put bigger deposits down then. So my mortgage is 75 grand. Fast forward 10 years, it's now worth £200,000, that flat. I think it's about 12 years. It's worth £200,000, but my mortgage is still 75 grand. So when I was like 27 and I got it out, and I thought to myself, oh, well, 75 grand's quite a lot of money compared to like the price of a property in today's money. Whereas now, obviously, then I owned 75 mortgage, 25 ownership. Now I own 125 grand ownership without even doing anything at all. And I still only owe the £75,000 at the beginning. So inflation, essentially, the price of everything going up, houses, cost of mortgages and society, has eroded away at the true value of my 75 grand, because it's still the same 75 grand that I took out 10 years ago.
10 years ago, yeah.
But it's actually percentage-wise against the property, it's quite a lot less now. So inflation is annoying when you go and buy chicken nuggets or tomato ketchup in the shop when it's doubled in price.
Yeah.
But actually there's a slight benefit if you've got debt, that will be eroding that debt, because the debt will stay the same. Yeah. Obviously that's assuming you haven't got some, like payday loans that are obviously on colossal interest, but the underlying debt, the amount of money you borrow, will be eroded by inflation.
Okay.
So that, I think a lot of people forget, because when you do, so I don't know what your next steps are. So once you've bought this property and you've gotten that, presumably we mentioned about pensions and property and stuff, and we can talk about both of those avenues, but a lot of people don't understand when you buy buy-to-let property why people only get interest only mortgages, because you're never paying the debt down.
No,
what are you going to do? I mean, I don't know, you might have that question.
No, I know that obviously from when I had the property before.
Mm.
So, yeah, I'd probably just have a look. It depends whether the property needs work or,
So I think
it's something I'd probably think about.
So I would be looking to buy a property that needs work doing to it. I know most people want to move in and sit down.
Most probably does anyway, doesn't it? It needs something.
It does, but we're not talking about a lick of paint around.
No.
Even like a kitchen that's 10 years old and you replace it with a new kitchen, that's not going to get you your money or increase on the property. The phrase is make your money when you buy, because it's easier to buy under value and then add the value back to make it. So that property that I was talking about, that was £100,000, I spent £5,000 on it. I got it remortgaged for 128. So I've made like best part of 25 grand
just by spending 5,000. Yeah.
I did a lot of the work myself, but you've got people around you that can assist you if you can't do it.
I know quite a few tradespeople.
Yes. So you pull their favours in and the rest of it. I mean, I couldn't join worktop together, for instance, so I had to get people in to do that. I can't fit
that's one of the things I wouldn't be able to do.
I can't fit carpets, but I learned a lot off of YouTube and how to like fit kitchens and level them and stuff like that. And I probably took twice as long as a tradesman would, but I saved loads of money.
Exactly,
I just did it in my evenings and weekends. So I made my money when I bought, because I bought it cheap. It was truly worth, I say, 125 grand, 130 in that region, but I was only paying, I think I paid about 102 for it or something. So I'm already paying quite a lot less. It was a repossession and it needed everything doing on it. And I don't mean like, oh, the kitchen's a bit grotty because it's 10 years old. This was like the original kitchen from like the 1970s, almost unusable.
Yeah, we had quite an old one. Well, when I was 21, I had storage heaters in it. So I don't know if that's all about these days. Have you come across many properties still with storage?
Yeah, well, the government are moving away from gas now. They don't really want people to use it. So storage heaters, or convection heaters now, as they're known, because they store electricity inside them and they do heat pump recycling. You can run them off solar panels. There's loads of more energy efficient things, but night storage heaters in the true sense are kind of going a little bit out of fashion, because people always found them quite hard to work, because you're supposed to heat them up overnight and then release the heat at night or during the day, because you don't need the heat when you're under the duvet in theory.
No,
so
I still remember replacing them. They were full of bricks inside and they were so heavy. But
that aside, it's about buying it cheap and refurbishing. And it might be that it's just a distressed sale, so it might be in pretty good condition. Might be that someone's passed away and the family just want to get rid of it. You'll see on my list of the property one, I had one where we bought it off of Gumtree because the kids had inherited it and they just wanted to get rid of it, but they didn't want to pay estate agency fees and they were kind of really in need of the money, I think.
Okay.
So not a traditional place to find a property.
No.
But I'd encourage you maybe go and have a watch some of those, because there's some sort of interesting journeys along the way. And I think that, if you can purchase below market rate, that is where you make your money, and then you add that back. And you don't, not having kids and family around you and life, you can afford to live in a more kind of I don't know, like undesirable state, if you like a kitchen that's done, but maybe the toilet and the bathroom need to be, like me, for instance, I've got 3 kids, like they won't put up with not having a bathroom. Like I would be like, oh, you just like, go up the golf club and shower or something, or down the gym or whatever. But they won't put up with that.
No.
Honestly.
No, I remember not having a kitchen for a few weeks and having the microwave on the coffee table and doing heat up meals while the kitchen was ripped out.
Well, the house that we own now, the one we live in, we couldn't move into it. That's how bad it was when we first bought it. So I lived in it on a camp bed, and I would spend every waking moment I wasn't already working doing it up. And I would literally go in the garden to do the washing up and use the outside tap, and I'd boil the kettle. It was like camping.
So just get the basics done so they could move in, and then you can.
It still took me about 9 months because I was obviously I could only work weekends.
Exactly, you quite like the peace and quiet.
Well, it took me ages. You're never at home anymore.
A lot of problems coming up.
Yeah, exactly. But I think, making your money when you buy is definitely a key aspect for that, and look for those types of property. And that will allow you, in theory, assuming the market doesn't kind of go funny, it should allow you to then remortgage at that 5-year point or before to release some capital, which will come on to what I would do if it was me.
Okay.
But if the market does go south and things don't turn up, at least you've added that value, so you've naturally built in your buffer. So take my example, £100,000 property, put 25 grand in, and then I've just added 25 grand to the value. So I've got actually £50,000 of buffer wiggle room. And so if the prices have gone down, I was then in a fortuitous position where I could be like, right, I can still afford to do a 25% buy-to-let mortgage or a mortgage, because I've had all that buffer built into it.
Yeah, it's an investment for obviously when I'm older. That's why I want to do it as well. But I'm not sure I'll be doing property after property after property. Let's see how the first one goes first.
Well, I think anybody can do it. It just takes time to build up. Like, I was impatient, like we referred to the young folk of today. It took me from 2010. I mean, obviously I set up a business in the middle of that, so that probably drew my attention. But it took me 2010 all the way to about 2017 before I'd even bought 2 more, including the house that I'm in. And then from 2017 to 2019, I think I bought a couple more. And then I didn't need the income because I had a job. So the equity built up. So I almost got to the point where I didn't really need to remortgage them, because I had 4 or 5 properties making, £500 a month profit. So therefore I had like £2,000 a month, it's 24 grand a year. And I'm thinking, well, it can kind of almost fuel itself a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think anybody can do that. And I think there are good things to do, but I'm a big fan of spreading your, assets around and not putting all your eggs in one basket really. So I don't know kind of what you're on at the moment, pension wise, and other investments. Do you do any of that sort of stuff?
Not at the moment. I think that's why we're going to have a chat.
Yeah.
And see what's out there, and have a chat more in depth about it.
Yeah. The problem that a lot of people don't envisage is that when you I don't know where yours go, so I might be talking a little bit out of turn for Newman here, but with the Nest and the various other pension things, a lot of people don't go and inquire about what's actually happening with the money. They're quite happy with just 3% return, but there's loads of online calculators where you can see what the compounding effect of that is. And if your money is often invested in the stock market or bonds or something, if they don't invest it in the right pace, the returns are quite low, so it doesn't even outpace inflation.
Okay.
So you're a bit like our example earlier. You can run the risk of your pension. You go, oh, it's going to be £200,000 when I'm older, and that'd be loads of money. Well, it is today. But in 20 years' time, it's not going to be £200,000, is it?
No.
It'll be like 50, 60 grand or something in current rate. I mean, I don't know what the exact calculation is of it. So a lot of people don't look at that. No. So you should talk to your pension team advisor or whatever and see what they're actually doing.
Well, with the IFA, I think we were going to have a look at it, and because I need to merge the 2 pensions as well.
Yeah.
They always tell you, if you've worked somewhere else, you had another pension.
Yes.
Have a look, get it out, merge them together. Yeah.
What I did was, I did all of that and I merged it all together, but I would always advise, if you can, to understand it where it's doing. Is it earning anything while it's there? But also to understand the fees as well. What I would encourage you to do is really look and see if that's, because it means that if they're going to charge you 2%, it means that you've got to at least make 2% every year in order to be the same. The cost, So really, you've got to make 5% every year for it to go up. Mm. So if they're not performing and getting you you're probably nearer to 10% returns, then their 2% is really eroding your ability to actually compound that interest. Yeah. Or compound that growth.
Yeah, I've not really thought about that. So
it's quite interesting. Most people don't. It's not you. It's just most people think, oh, I'm paying someone to manage it. It's bound to be worth more at the end, and it probably is going to be worth more at the end than it is at the start, for sure. But a lot of people don't. They forget that they get paid whether it performs or not, and that fee can really erode your pension.
Yeah, of course it can. Yeah, I never really thought about that.
Although it's not for everybody, I administer my own pension now. I put it into my own fund, not personally. It's
That
still
doesn't
with,
surprise me.
but I'm not alone. So I use. I mean, it doesn't matter for this video, but I use an online company called Vanguard, who are like probably the biggest people in the world that manage people's pensions, ISAs, other investments, that sort of stuff. And you can just buy the same shares that your pension provider will buy through those things. You could same risk factor profiles. You could be a 5 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, depending on what you want to do. And you just buy them yourself. You just buy the shares. And I don't tend to invest very much into individual companies. I tend to buy what they call ETFs, which are like baskets of funds. So if you take like the S&P 500, it takes whatever in any one moment in time is the biggest 500 companies in America.
Okay.
And you put £500 on, and effectively you bought a pound of each one of them.
Yeah.
So assuming that they all perform, but obviously it's not even buying a share in each one, it's whatever's in that 500. So if one drops out, it will be replaced by somebody else.
Okay.
So ETFs are good. And that is what your pension provider will be doing. They'll be putting a package of funds together in order to invest. But put it in perspective, Vanguard charged me 0.007% to manage the portfolio, because it's all done electronically.
How did you find all this stuff? Just
from a lifetime of being super boring and surfing the internet and watching videos and stuff.
You gotta know where to look for this stuff though as well, and what's secure, what's not.
Yeah, so Vanguard are like Tesco's of the investing world, but you've probably never heard of them.
No.
But I would say that for the most part, most people don't want to understand it because they've got other things to do in their lives, and the rest of them, they're kind of content with it, but they don't realise the impact some of these things are having, or the impact not understanding it is having on their kind of long-term wealth. So I don't want to like kind of bombard you with stuff because we only have a short period of time on these podcasts, but I think we don't get taught financial education in schools, and people then go about their merry life and they don't realise the impact of interest payments on credit cards, or actually how you can earn it. And I know
and your future, it's so important to have something to look forward to at the end for you to have a comfortable life.
Definitely.
I think it should definitely be in schools, 100%.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's definitely something missing. I mean, Albert Einstein says like those who don't understand it pay it, and those who do understand it earn it. Yeah. And that's like a really resonating comment or quote, if you like, for most people, I think, because it literally is so detrimental. Like credit card debt is massive where you're paying it because it's compounded, but the reverse effect of that is on your investments. I'd suggest, I started out with a pension fund manager and I learned all about it. So I'm not saying I just went straight in at the deep end and did all of that. So by all means, I would start with that, but I would pay a lot more attention to it than most people do. And then you'll have a better understanding, and then you might move into that kind of SIP or self-invested pension territory, which a lot of people do. Some of your colleagues at Newman might do that or whatever. But I definitely look at that. And you mentioned in the break, you had like an ISA and it was giving you like 1% return. And then you switched it to another ISA that was giving you like 5% return. Yeah. The thing is if
wish I'd done that sooner too.
Well, the irony about that is if inflation, as you know, was like at 10%, that means your cash in that ISA, although it's giving you 1% or even 5%, it's actually going down in real value because everything else is getting more expensive.
I've lost a lot from not changing it sooner, but without having the conversations with people on what's out there. Yeah.
Exactly, because a lot of people will still think, oh yeah, well I've got this money and it's still earning me some money, but they don't realise it's losing against the cost of real world.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it's really hard to condense this conversation into, a 45 1 hour minute session, whatever. But I think you've got that kind of entrepreneurial kind of, twang or like want about you, if you like, with all your various jobs. Business development manager role in any business suits someone that's motivated or whatever. it's just about getting motivated about your finances, I think. And they are traditionally something that most people kind of switch off from because it's sort of boring. It's not fun that much. But what is fun is when you grasp it and you're like, actually, this is like, I'm really
making
glad.
money.
Whilst asleep.
Yeah, exactly that.
Yeah.
Which is the best way, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And you'll be interested like in the stock market and things like that, you know, when you...
One step at a time.
But not in the stock market as in like I'm putting a bit on Apple or whatever, but you'll be more interested when you hear the news that there's a war somewhere and the stock market as a whole went down a bit today. You'll be like, I know that's affecting me. Whereas most people are like, I'm more concerned about the war. Obviously, we don't want war. Don't get me wrong on that. But you'll understand that actually has a negative impact. But what you will understand is eventually you'll see that every time that happens and you continue to buy and not panic, you're actually kind of buying stuff or investing into your pension at a sale rate because it will recover eventually. So it goes down because there's a war on. You'll keep pulling money in and it goes back when everyone's settled about the war and we just accept it or whatever's happened and the market comes back up to here. But you bought them all at down this rate or some of your investments were bought down at that. So they've naturally given you like a really big return, but only on the few that you did there. The ones that you did here just before it went down, well, you could argue they were overpriced. But over a long period of time, they will average out. So time in the market, not timing it. Another Warren Buffett phrase,
right, okay. Time in the market.
Yeah, the longer you can be in it. I mean, if you started when you're 16, 17, 18 and you just put like a little bit of money in every single month, you'll have millions when you get to 60 versus if you start when you're 35, you're going to have to put thousands in order to achieve the same thing because of the rate of return on those investments. But any financial advisor can kind of map that out for you. But you can't turn back time.
No, you can't, unfortunately. Because I wish I had done a lot of things differently, finance-wise.
And there's a lot to say to enjoying yourself. You know, you go around the world and you have these experiences and the rest of it. So people shouldn't put like everything on this. You know, I'm probably guilty of that in the past when I was younger. I did not a lot of the fun stuff in life because I was so focused on various things. And now we're trying to do more of the fun stuff, which some people would say, well, that's good because you built your wealth and then you're doing the fun stuff. But it's different for me now. At 40 years old, I can't do like backpacking or sleeping in the back of a car around Australia. We would have to go on a coach and stay in hotels because we're old. I'm not sure we would do very well in that. So it is different. So I'll probably never have that experience now. So you know, you can argue for both cases, but I think
there's always things that people have wanted to do in life, or you know, even when you get to the end, you know, or some people obviously go beforehand, but there's always going to be things that people regret not doing. Because there's just not enough time, is there?
So I hope that's really helped inspire you to kind of save up for your first property. Get that below market value, and then you need to do that and then add the value back in so you're protected from the buffer zone. It's giving you an option if you wanted to refinance to buy another one, or you could just leave it there as a protection. And then really understand your pensions and where your investments are going. And then if you can ever get to that kind of position where you can manage your own pension yourself, like a self-invested one. There are loads of other firms other than Vanguard. There's Hargreaves Lansdowne and a few others. You probably would have heard of some of them. But yeah, they you can manage your pensions yourself. So hopefully that will assist you in your kind of journey of kind of financial stability, if you like. I don't know if you had any questions for me at all or anything you want to ask.
I don't think so. I think we've covered a lot today.
It's a lot
and I've got a lot to take away with me as well and think about, and all my paper coming out later.
I'd like, all those things you're paying for that you don't need to pay for.
Oh, it is. Yeah, exactly.
I think it would be lovely to spend more time talking about this stuff. It's very I love all this sort of stuff, so it's right up my street. Obviously, I'm not a financial advisor, so I can't do that role for you. But having done that journey, it's very of great interest to me.
But just from me having a conversation with somebody and changing my ISA over, I'm earning more money just from moving the money to another account. So it's you don't know this stuff until you speak to people and little snippets from people through life.
There are so many things that are useful that the government put on that people don't use and stuff like that. Like the Help to Buy scheme was brilliant. They've got the LISA now as well, and there's obviously the normal ISA. There was the talk about the British ISA as well. Like if you did stocks and shares in your ISA rather than cash, if you invested into British companies, they allowed you like a bigger allowance on it rather than investing abroad like I might do. So yeah, it's loads and loads of different like avenues to be tax efficient with things, and the beauty of ISAs is you don't pay tax on the gains that you make in them. So yeah, but hopefully that's inspired you to, to go on and do that. And yeah, I'm more than happy to look at any properties that you've got that you might find and you might want to think about or whatever. Or equally so, if you want just a second opinion on, you know, your pensions or whatever after you've spoken to those people. So hopefully that's been really useful. It'd be good to see you in about a year's time, see where you're at.
Yeah, definitely.
Hopefully you've got your first property and you're kind of saving for your future.
Yeah, that'd be good.
Right. Well, it's been really nice having you on. How do people find out if they want to buy your printer and software and all the rest of it? How do they get hold of you?
All over LinkedIn. And most of my business cards are everywhere. So someone will know somebody that knows me.
Yeah. So literally just type in Helen Moss in Newman Business.
Or Newman Business Solutions and we'll be there. Or we've got a website with all our contact details as well.
And I don't normally do recommendations but on the show, but we have a lot of the equipment here provided by Newman, and it's been really good. Obviously, a lot of it based off on your colleagues. So yeah, anybody that needs printers, software, various other bits and stuff, even stationery you do as well. So and they can provide all of that.
Thank you very much.
No worries.
Thank you for having me.
All right, take care.
Bye.
Bye. So I hope that's been really interesting for everybody talking to Helen today. And you can see that I think it's quite a common problem really for a lot of people where they get kind of tied into this sort of normal life and the rest of it, but then they don't think about their future. They make investments with maybe through company pensions, that kind of stuff, and they don't monitor that sort of thing. But they've got that little entrepreneurial spirit inside them, but they're just maybe not nurturing that in the right way. And I think it's a really important lesson to know that really anybody can start their journey on any of this at all, whether that be property, saving for your futures or whatever. But it's a really important thing to do. Financial literacy in the UK and in most of the world is not particularly taught, so you have to go out and self-teach that. And there are a plethora of things that can help you with that. So I hope that's been a really, really interesting video for anybody kind of in a similar position to Helen's or wanting to really just get their life sort of on track. Don't forget, we've got those kind of series of videos about my property journey, which hopefully you'll have heard that we referenced in the video a few times with Helen, and they're really, really interesting to everybody on that kind of journey. And you can see how we've gone from like zero up to our kind of £4 million worth of property and that journey through that. So hopefully that's inspiring to everybody. Don't forget to like the video, please subscribe, share it about, comment below, all that kind of stuff. Give Helen some extra questions to answer. I know she loves all of that sort of stuff. And don't forget that we're on Instagram and Facebook if you want to follow us there. So having that said, we'll see you in the next video.